is going on, everyone? Welcome to the J&J Power Hour. First time in a couple of weeks because we've been busy with stuff. And now we're on our own YouTube channel and stuff like that. So make sure you click subscribe and all that kind of stuff because it's more important than ever. We've still got the same playlist, guys. So if you go to my channel, if you're viewing this from my channel, you can still see it in the playlist, but then you can just subscribe to the new channel. It's free. It's not like it costs you any money. So just subscribe and carry on. This way you'll get it. It's not going to be on my channel anymore. So you have to go to the J&J Power Hour YouTube channel to get this show. But this is the first time in a couple of weeks that we are here. We're just kind of, like I said, busy with life and whatever. And honestly, last week, I just was that busy with my own stuff. I just genuinely forgot. I was like, oh, shit. And then it was what it was. So big whoop. We're back after a couple of weeks. And we're just going to catch up. We don't really have too much of a plan like normal with everything that we do. We're just going to kind of catch up and go for gusto. We're just going to talk. We'll probably talk. Well, I have to let everyone know we're recording this post Hell in a Cell and post Raw, which is probably a good thing because there's one chunk of Raw specifically that we know we're going to talk about a little later. But yeah, we're in a pretty good. I mean, wrestling the last couple of weeks, wrestling is always in a bit of a dull period at this time of year. Like that post-Mania, you're like not quite in the, like we've just had Double or Nothing and stuff. Yes. Okay. With AEW and they're kind of doing their thing, but they're a different entity than what WWE is. But it's always that kind of, this time of year is just kind of like, I don't know. It is what it is this time of year. Yeah. We've had some good stuff. So we got a lot to cover. So the first thing that I want to talk about before wrestling is, I don't know how old this is going to make everyone feel, or if anyone even cares enough to let them feel old. But did you know, like a couple of days ago, it may have even been yesterday or in the last week at least, it's been 20 years since Avril Lavigne released her debut album, Let Go.
Incredible.
20 years.
I'm With You is still on my regular rotation. I listen to it. I'm not going to say daily, but I'm going to say I listen to it rather often. She was 16 when she wrote that song. And that's what, like, still to this day, and don't get me wrong, a lot of those songs, you hear Skater Boy, shit's still a banger.
Complicated. It's
Complicated was kind of the first big one, at least down in the States it was.
No, that was
the first big one.
I think that was her debut single, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
So. But that album, I remember listening to that album as a little kid, and I was just like, oh, I thought she was like a heavy metal god at that stage. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's funny, I didn't go. But last week in usually Memorial Day weekend over here is the last weekend of May. And Boston, near where I'm from, they have a music festival called Boston Calling. And Avril Lavigne was one of the headliners there last week.
It's crazy.
It was Metallica, Avril Lavigne. The Foo Fighters were supposed to be there, but obviously not with everything that happened. But yeah, Avril Lavigne was like, I think the headliner on the second Saturday night. And she was one of the few people on the list. I was like, I would really like to go just to see. That would just be awesome.
Yeah,
she'll play all the hits, and you'll be like, oh my God, like this is amazing.
She released like a 20th year anniversary special album, and she recorded a song that I believe she wrote, but Kelly Clarkson recorded. Breakaway.
Okay.
It was originally for Avril, or she wrote Breakaway. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Exact. Someone will tell me in the comments, or someone will yell at me and be like, "Did she physically
release like an album, like a record? Because I'm gonna end up.
I would assume. I just seen it on Spotify because I'm a dumb millennial. But like she recorded that version of Breakaway is. I mean, obviously Kelly Clarkson and Avril Lavigne, two very different.
Kelly Clarkson's dope though.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson, I'm not saying Kelly Clarkson isn't. She's a beautiful vocalist, but Avril can't sing like Kelly, and Kelly doesn't sing like Avril. So it's a very different vibe. But like, I would suggest everyone, Breakaway is what a classic pop song. What a classic pop song Breakaway is. And Avril obviously does it. She has a little bit more of I don't mean this in a demeaning way, but like a yelly quality than like Kelly sings, where Avril kind of yells a little bit more, which kind of suits their kind of style of music and whatever they do. But yeah, it's on the 20th anniversary edition of
I'm probably gonna have to check that out.
Let Go. So go and I just wanted to start that off before we get on our rampage that we're gonna have. I don't know, but then of wrestling.
I see what you did there.
So we have a lot to cover when it comes to wrestling because we haven't been here for a few weeks. We've had pay-per-views. We've had very big things happen. Very big things happen in both sides of the wrestling world with the mainstream side of wrestling. So I'm just going to take it back to, let's start at Double or Nothing because that happened first.
Okay.
We're not going to break down every match. I'm not going to go through and we're just going to try to generalize everything in a little bit of time. But honestly, because it's still it was a week and a half ago and I forgot a lot of the matches that happened because there was a lot. The show was fucking long and that was probably a little bit of an issue for me, just a little bit too long. But listen, there were some matches that were fine, but they didn't really necessarily need to be on the card. But let's start I'm not going to touch too much on the MJF stuff from Double or Nothing because we're going to talk about MJF after. It was cool to see Wardlow win. Good stuff. Won't touch too much on the Hardy stuff because the Jeff Hardy thing has been just beaten to death. He just didn't look good. We will talk about Athena and
nice.
Stokely. Mr. Stokely coming in and just fitting directly right into the baddies. Jade.
Oh yeah.
Just like
my thing about that though, I agree with you. Stokely's gonna be perfect for Jade. Jade is gonna be perfect for Stokely. Athena is a big name that I think Jade will get a win over, or Athena is a big enough name that if you maybe were like, okay, Jade's like a legitimate superstar here, we need to get her away from the TBS title and give her our main title. Athena is a big enough name that I think she could maybe be the person that would take it off her. I don't think she will be. But I'll tell you what, that whole thing that happened in that match, everything at the end, the thing I was most excited for, and then they kind of went away with it because Athena showed up and she got everything she deserved, was when Statlander and Jade Cargill were kind of staring at each other.
Yeah, Statlander's got a lot of love.
I was like, that's a match that I want to see, is those two big, strong women like beat the crap out. Like I was like, oh, give that, like, let's go. And then Athena showed up and I was like, oh shit, like, let's go. I was pumped.
Big reaction too. Which
as she should.
She ended up wrestling on Rampage. Listen, her debut match was a debut match. I'm not a big Kiera Hogan guy. I never really have been. I think they probably could have given her someone better to wrestle in her first match. That's just my opinion. But Athena was cool. Listen, Jade definitely needs someone to talk for her, but Athena does a little bit as well. Athena's never been like the strongest in promos. I don't necessarily think she's bad. She's passable. But certainly where her strong suit is inside the ring. I mean, that was my biggest problem with Ember Moon, is that I found her a little boring. She was just a little like, what was that? I'm not really sure.
We never found out what the character was.
Well, no, but there is an argument, and I do understand it, of people saying she is just a finisher, and it's up to her to prove us wrong. And I hope she does. And I really think that her and Jade, and it's benefiting Jade a lot too, because Jade, while I think the world of Jade Cargill, I think she's amazing, and the sky is definitely the limit. The girl is green as all green, and she needs people that are so much better than her in the ring. And it was honestly, I don't mean to sound super negative, but I don't think the match was bad, but it was honestly pretty apparent when she was wrestling Anna Jay, who's not experienced. And they got to the end, and they got there, and by the end it did pick up, but there was moments where both of them were lost because Anna's not in a spot, I don't think, where she's able to carry people through, and Jade needs to wrestle people like Athena and people like Ruby Soho and people like, you know, name your person that's had some experience, and Jade's fine, but we all know that Jade Cargill is money. She's whether you like her, whether you hate it, doesn't matter. You know that she's going to make that company, or whatever company she decides that she want to work for, a lot of money. It's just getting reps in, and 2 years in, she's looking pretty good. I will say that. Like, she is green, and she does get the biggest part of Jade's flaws, for the most part, is, well, she's got a few selling, getting lost in her spots. I've noticed. I think her wheels are turning. Like, I've got to get to here, and then she gets a little lost. And she's doing. I props to her for trying a lot of stuff, but sometimes I feel like she should just stick to what she knows, and then worry about the next thing. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to impress us yet. Just get the basics, fundamentals down. But you can tell she's been putting in the work because she's.
Oh yeah, and I think she does need somebody to talk for her, but her promos lately have been better too. So like you can tell, like when I went to the Boston show, she cut what I thought was her best promo to date at that show, and it's still very good. And I was like, okay, that's a lot better than what we've seen so far. So yeah, I mean, she's learning how to do this in front of our eyes every week. Like that's what this is.
Yeah,
and it's been a while. I think the Performance Center and NXT have kind of trained like that. We see the people learning before our eyes in NXT. That's what we saw.
Yeah.
So now when you see someone being put in a prominent position on main television, you kind of are, I think our brains are just kind of trained. They're like, oh, well, these guys, they're like, they know what they're professionals. Blah,
Not
blah,
only that,
TV.
it doesn't help.
She's learning and getting better every week. Like we're watching her learn this,
It doesn't help that she's probably really the only one in AEW that's really learning from the ground up. Jeez Louise.
I almost lost my
JPJ's died in his living room.
That was scary.
Oh my God.
I'm alive. I promise. I'm okay.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Mind my ugly hand.
It is good stuff. I'm excited for Jade and Athena. A few more things from Double or Nothing. Britt and Ruby had a great match. Wrong person won. I'll leave that at that.
How are you going to have Rancid there perform the girl out? Everyone knows she needs to win.
She needed it. Everybody
knows that Britt can lose, and it doesn't fucking matter at all. And yet, but then the thing that pisses me off is 3 days later, you have Ruby go over Britt. Motherfucker, why didn't you just do it on Sunday? What does it? And I get it. Adam Cole, Britt Baker, couple winning the Owen. I get it. Ruby needed that shit more. Ruby needed that shit more.
I got a little bit of people kind of going at me on Twitter the other day because of a comment I made about Britt Baker. Someone wrote something. They were like, Athena wrestles better than Britt Baker, and I quote tweeted it and write, most do. And and then I had a big thing, like a thread that no one reads the thread. They only read the top thing. But I said it doesn't. Britt is so good as a character that it does not matter that a lot of people are better wrestlers than her. Because I'm going to preface this with saying how I like wrestling. This doesn't mean how you like wrestling or JPJ likes wrestling. How I like wrestling is that I would rather someone that is okay, above average in the ring, that does what they do, isn't anything too crazy. That's how I describe Britt Baker. But someone I actually care about. Britt Baker is one of the only great characters in all of AEW. I love AEW. A lot of people are going to be like, WWE's. I'm not. I just like what I like. My thing is that AEW has a lot of great wrestling that just blends together. If I want to go watch great wrestling, I'll find it somewhere. But characters-driven stuff where they're great promos, actual characters, not just like themselves. I'm happy. Britt Baker is a character. She's an evil dentist, really, when you put it down to gimmicks. No. She is an evil. She's a bitch. She's a dentist. She rubs it in your face. She's better than you. The girl can speak. There's no question on Britt Baker's ability to cut a promo. She's quite literally better than a lot of people in AEW. A lot of people in WWE, to be completely certain. She's a great promo. But if I don't care about someone, they can do all the 450s in the world, but I could give two shits. I'm not going to remember it. I'm just going to be like...
I just think there's a certain... And I'm very pro AEW too. I love AEW. Love it. My favorite wrestling product has been since it's basically its inception. Has been. I think there's a certain section of fans, whether they're like hardcore indie wrestling fans or whatever, that think that if you're not a 5-star match wrestler every match, you're not a good wrestler. It's like, okay, well, was Stone Cold Steve Austin the best in-ring worker?
No.
He was a good in-ring worker. He was a good in-ring worker. Was The Rock The best
when I
in-ring
think
worker
Stone
of
Cold,
that crew?
I honestly don't think matches. Sure, he's had great
No,
matches, but I think of
no.
him stunning McMahon and him
Yeah,
cutting the 316 promo after winning King of the Ring,
yeah.
him
If
him doing the beer bash and
if
Rocky.
you
I'm
look
the
at
same.
if you look at all the wrestlers that most of the wrestling community, I feel like Stone Cold Steve Austin is a wrestler that almost universally was beloved by all IWC casual fan. He was the man,
Yeah.
right? He was never the best in-ring wrestler on that roster.
No.
Male, female, never.
Never.
But he was the
Not
most
once.
over dude and the most popular dude because he had the whole package.
Certainly
He was
wasn't. The Rock was the
good-
same.
Yeah, same thing with The Rock. They were both unbelievable characters, unbelievable promos, and they were good to very good wrestlers. They weren't 5 or 6 star classics all the time, but they could have a classic if they had a good dance partner with them. And the characters are what made you love the whole thing. That was it. And that's what Britt Baker is. Britt Baker, in most places, including for me, had the match of the year last year against Thunder Rosa.
I'm not saying
that was
she's
the
a bad
best wrestling
wrestler.
match I thought. Yeah, exactly. But she's not the best in-ring worker
She's
in that female roster
adequate.
over an AEW. Yeah, she's good.
And
she can have great programs.
But it passes. You know what I mean? It's possible to get you to what she does, what she needs to do, and that's all that she needs to do.
It's just very bizarre to me how certain people, like, don't get me wrong, like, yeah, I want my matches to be good matches, but like,
sure,
there are plenty of wrestling matches in the history of wrestling that I consider some of my favorites that I guarantee you weren't 5-star classics. They were just entertaining, pretty good wrestling matches with people that I liked.
I don't want it to be a shit show that you can't let you just like.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But like, as long as you're giving me something that I can invest in, I'll take a good story over a great wrestling match any day. I'll say that till the cows come home. That's just how I feel about that situation. Moving on from that, I thought Anarchy and the easy for fucking me to say.
I liked it.
It was a great time. Like,
yeah, I thought it was playing, crazy.
I didn't expect it to be that, but I did not expect it to be that. But the music playing, and then they just played
Jericho,
their parts.
Jericho really, turning it off and getting
Eddie
the heat
Kingston,
for like
walking out with
the gasoline. He looked like a serial killer from a movie. He
literally looked like a GTA character, like a loading screen.
I thought that was a ball of fun.
That was my favorite match of the night.
I was going into that match,
like,
and we talked about it, and I was like, this is going to be some over the top stupid. And it was over the top, but it was over the top in like the best way. I was like, this is pure mayhem, anarchy, to be honest.
Anarchy in the arena.
Yeah. And I thoroughly was into, I loved it.
Yeah, loved it. Punk and Hangman was pretty good. I didn't think it was.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
We'll obviously talk about Punk again. Well, we may as well go straight into Punk,
and I think,
to be honest, because I mean, just an unfortunate series of
circumstances. What can you do? I thought it was his time to win the title. I thought he was going to win going into the show.
I didn't, but
he did win. I wasn't one of those people that and they're not the same people, but there's a certain section of people that, old guy come in and take. Shut up. Like him returning last year, like, are you going to pretend it wasn't the biggest story in wrestling of the last decade?
Yeah, honestly.
Him coming back, like, relax. He's CM Punk, for crying out loud. He, and in the match, him messing up the buckshot, that kind of, I think, killed the crowd a little bit.
And it was a long night. Listen,
and it was a long night, but everyone was, it was long, and then that happens, and it kind of, but I thought the match still was good.
Yeah.
And then what happens after, he gets his, a lot of people, I personally think in the 6-man tag, he gets the hot tag and he tried to do his like jumping clothesline and he slipped off the rope. That's where I think he hurt his. Afterwards he was favoring it. Yeah, I think you have a different. Nobody truly knows.
I think when he jumped into the crowd,
some people.
And then he was limping to the ring, and I was like, "Did he? Oh, he's fine." But then, whatever. He finished the match, went on Rampage, said that he didn't actually say what was wrong, did he? He just said,
"No." He just said he was banged up and he had to have surgery.
I need to have surgery. So they're crowning an interim AEW champ. By the time this comes out, it'll already be done, so we won't even comment on speculating on who will be in the match at Forbidden Door. But whatever. It is what it is. It sucks. The only other thing I want to talk about from AEW, I know I'm kind of getting through everything is because we got a lot to talk about. Is MJF, obviously. That
Incredible
promo. It's blurring the lines between what's real and what's not. I think this was a very real situation that's kind of been turned into a work. That's just my opinion. It could be not that, and maybe it did go a little off the rails. I seen the uncensored version on Fight, which is just amazing because it certainly packed a lot of punch when you hear it uncensored. You're like, whoa, calling Tony a fucking mark. The whole promo was very passionate, but I don't think it went the way that everyone thought it was going to, because by the end of that promo, everybody was cheering MJF.
Well, so the character that we've seen of MJF, he plays it that he is a heel and he is on 100% of the time. Interviews, autograph signings, online. No matter what. I have an MJF story of him knocking a hat off my friend's head. Like, this is like legitimate. This is who he is, right? That's the cat. He's in kayfabe always. However, I do think, and you've seen it. Yeah, Long Island is his hometown, but they book him in a way when he's in Long Island. They book him as a babyface. So he's in his hometown where he's going to get cheers, but they book him to be a babyface, and it gets over. And I think there's a possibility, I don't think they will, because he's so young and he's just such a damn good heel. He's gonna be a massive babyface at some point.
They're not gonna. They can't avoid it with this.
No, and like, are you telling me that? And again, I guess there's rumors that Punk might only miss a month or two. Like, it's not going to be real, like a super duper long time he's out. But if you're telling me if Punk comes back, he ends up getting the title again, he beats the interim guy, whatever the hell they do, and Punk's the champion, and like MJF faces him at Grand Slam in New York. The main event of Grand Slam this year in New York, MJF's home state, is Punk versus MJF Part 3 for the AEW title. Are you telling me that MJF is not going to be the crowd favorite there?
Oh, well, he will be.
100%.
No question about that.
100%.
He will be, but yeah, very passionate. Yeah, whoa, it was just very.
And he was, and look at, he was telling the truth. A lot of it, he was telling the truth.
Yeah, no,
he said, I had to earn my spot, unlike a lot of the free tickets that were given out when this thing started, because friends and friends and friends. I earned my place, and I've outperformed, and I am the biggest or second biggest draw in this company. And the part where he says, Tony's back there, like, just don't ask him to empty his pockets. He needs to save it for all the ex-WWE guys. And then he blatantly was like, if I was an ex-WWE guy, would you treat me better? Like, man.
Yikes. Big yikes. Oh, man. Very interesting, though. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. Let's move on. Not something I talk about very much on this show anymore. I watched NXT in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the wrestling on it was pretty good. I'm not going to lie that it wasn't. That 6-man tag that opened up that show was fucking phenomenal. Did you watch it?
I did not see the 6-man tag. I watched the Carmelo Hayes, Cameron Grimes match.
You need to watch the 6-man tag because I blew everything out of the water.
Wait. This was Legado del Fantasma and Tony D, and then Legado lost, and they have to join Tony D. So I saw bits and pieces. I didn't see the whole match.
You need to watch that whole match. It's very, very, very.
So
good.
I watched the whole matches that I did watch I did watch Wendy Chu and Mandy Rose. I thought they should have gave the belt to Wendy Chu, and I kind of like Wendy Chu.
Whatever.
I saw Carmelo and Cameron Grimes, which was really good. Carmelo Hayes is a future main roster world. Like, that guy is everything they want. Fantastic. And I think that was it. I didn't see the Braun Breaker Joe Gacy. I was rooting for Gacy, but he didn't win, I know. So
no, they had it was, lots of heel tactics and stuff like that. I had it on. I didn't pay too much attention to that. I thought Mandy and Wendy Chu was pretty decent.
It was pretty good.
Mandy, a lot of people don't like Mandy.
I have no problem with her.
I think she's improved a lot, to be completely honest.
I think that group should go to the main roster.
Oh, they'll get misused. I said this on Twitter. I was
and that's the thing. Like
I said they're too big for NXT.
Separate it as much as I can.
They're too big for NXT, but as soon as they go to the main roster, they'll go, "Oh, we remember Mandy." And then they'll just take them away, and they'll probably put Mandy back with Sonya or something like that. Like, it's just that group is bigger than NXT, but ultimately
I think that's where we're at.
On Raw or SmackDown. And listen, that tag match that the women's title tag match wasn't great.
No.
I am, you know this. I don't like Caden and Katana or whatever the fuck their name is now. I'm like, what the fuck is they're
ravers? They're like
they do drugs.
Like EDM.
They're like they look like they would sell me pills at a club.
Yeah, Molly. They would sell you Molly. They'd be like, "Hey, you want to go for a ride, Molly?"
And I'd be like, "No, just go and dance somewhere." They look like those annoying
They had the people
girls.
handing out. They have people like throwing glow sticks out.
Yeah, and they look like they would just film everything, and they would post everything on TikTok, and then they would do drugs in a bathroom, and then rave for a fucking hour, and then crash down somewhere.
Yeah.
They just look like the most annoying two girls I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm just like, can you just go away? I was so happy when they lost. I was like, thank God for that. But yeah, I'm not. Fuck off, Giddy. I'm not. Just. Can you?
She's like, I need my close up. I need my close up. Yeah.
She's annoying me like crazy. Yeah. So, but overall, I mean, NXT's still delivering in like match quality for the most part. I wish they would get out of that fucking performance center. Get the fuck out of there. Come on. Yeah. It's time to go.
I guess they're like traveling soon, at least in Florida.
But not for TV.
No, I think it's just more like rep based.
At least have their events out of like you're running in Chicago the next day anyway. Like, just have it in Chicago at a smaller arena.
I think I was gonna say I think the problem they should go back to the old model, because if you remember, like before they really went to Brooklyn for the first time, they went to smaller arenas. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I went to WrestleMania 32 and the NXT, the one where Nakamura debuted, that was in like a small auditorium. There might not even have been 1,000 people there. Like it was small.
It looks cool. It adds a little bit of a different element to them looking different to TV. So, but yeah, that's where I'll end on that. I want to talk about a lot of stuff at Hell in a Cell and what happened on. I didn't watch Raw, but I watched bits of Raw. I was away yesterday. But I watched bits of Raw.
I watched Raw.
But I want to talk about Hell in a Cell first. First things first, let's talk about this. That triple threat that opened the show is a match of the year kind of contender. That shit fucking ruled. The crowd was hot for these three. They all loved everyone. They all got big reactions. They all had their moments. No one looked bad. It was just a beautifully executed. Listen, a lot of people shit on WWE all the time. When it comes to multi-people matches, no one books them better than WWE. They book especially triple threats. They know what they're doing. I can probably nearly guarantee, I don't know this for a fact, TJ Wilson would have had his hands all over that match.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so good. And like, you see those three women and you're expecting it to be fantastic.
Because they're three.
You know what I mean?
You're argue that they're three of the best in the world.
Yeah, and you're like, this match is going to rule. And then it like ruled even more.
The crowd was so
and the crowd was ready. I mean, it's Chicago. It's a wrestling. They're wrestling. I mean,
they love, and it's three wrestlers.
Three wrestlers.
Three very different wrestlers.
Yeah, but it's three wrestlers that the fans love and respect. You know what I mean? Like
you can't hate Becky. Becky's a great heel, and we love to get on her. But
she's arguably the best person on the roster still.
Asuka's fresh off a return, and we've been waiting for Asuka for so long. There was a sequence in that match where Asuka just was hitting back fists and kicks and German suplex. The crowd was eating her up. She was like screaming into the crowd. I'm like, oh, I think I said this to you in our Hell in a Cell sim that we do every single pay-per-view, the Friday before, or Saturday morning if you're in my land, before a pay-per-view, which we will do for Money in the Bank, by the way. We do a simulation in 2K22 and we just bullshit, and it's the most ridiculous thing ever. But I said that I don't understand how people say that Asuka's been treated terribly on the main roster. I'm like, bitch, she is a Royal Rumble winner. She's headlined WrestleMania with Charlotte Flair. She's a multiple-time Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion. She's a multiple-time WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. She's won Money in the Bank. She has done everything. You know who hasn't done all of that?
A lot of women.
Becky?
Yeah.
Charlotte? Sasha? Bailey?
I mean, I feel like she's one of the if you look at all the women on the roster now, and even some of the ones that have been let go in the last couple of years, besides the 4 horsewomen, her and Alexa Bliss, I think, are the only 2 women that they treat with any long-term respect.
Yeah, I don't
from
get
a
that.
booking
I don't get the argument of Asuka. I
I
don't
don't
get
either.
it.
She was champion. Like, regardless, like, yeah, could they have made
Yeah, sure, but you can
better
say that about
stories? Yeah,
anyone.
but their stories suck everywhere.
Yeah.
Besides one, usually the Romans, whatever.
Yeah.
Now he's not even there. But like, she was the champion almost the whole time on the Raw side of things. Once Becky left.
Yep.
Like literally almost the whole time.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I get it. Yes, I wish WWE cared about the secondary and mid tier.
Sure.
Like I get it. But she was the champion the whole time.
On paper, she has done literally more than any other woman in that company. So like, just calm down, everyone. Asuka was great. Everyone was like, oh, she took the fall. I'm like, well, someone has to take the fucking fall.
Yeah, literally, someone needs to get pinned.
Like, and the way that they did it, because Becky kept trying to like screw Bianca or Asuka out of the win and kept throwing her out and trying to steal it. And Bianca outsmarted her and said, fuck you, bitch. I'm going to fucking do this. And she did. And it protects everybody. I don't think it makes Asuka and Becky are now obviously going into a program, which we're going to talk about more in a second and what happened there. But a phenomenal triple threat match. Like, I think that was the best match of the night, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a hot opener. Like, it made me sometimes I sit back and, because we're past all of the first evers with women now, it's really cool to sometimes get a moment where you're like, 3 women are opening up a pay-per-view or premium live event, whatever you want to call it. They're opening up me too. They're opening up a show because the company has enough trust in them that they're hot enough to get this show what they want it to be. That's a cool... I think opening is nearly just as important as main eventing in a lot of senses of like, they're trusting you to be like, start this off well, because if you start this off poorly, it sets a really horrible tone for the rest of the show. You're in a place like Chicago, like 12, 13, 14 years ago, if you put women in Chicago, they would kill you. They would kill the women in that sense because of just the way they were positioned. Now they're opening up a show. They're arguably 3 of the very best in the whole company, if not the whole world. You have Becky Lynch, who is, bar none, the top talent beside, or 1 and 1A of this company. You have a Japanese icon in Asuka, who is now in a prominent position working with the top woman in the company. And then you have Bianca Belair, who's a generational talent. Like, we're witnessing something very special where we're just like, I don't even think we're even enveloping what's actually happening in front of our eyes because we're living it. But like, in 10 years time, we're going to be like, holy fucking shit. It was one of the greatest to ever do it. She's just incredible. And she's on top of the world at the moment. And she just beat the 2 best that they have in terms of working. Because a lot of people like to shit on Becky's in-ring work. And I'm like, I don't understand that argument at all.
No.
Becky doesn't really have bad matches. She doesn't. Neither does Bianca. Have you seen look at the catalog of Bianca Belair matches since joining the main roster. It's like, she doesn't miss this girl. She doesn't miss. And then there's Asuka, who, I mean, that girl could wrestle with her eyes closed.
For the most part, doesn't have bad matches either. None of those 3 women have bad matches.
Just really good. I know I've spent a lot of time on that match, but it deserved it. We had other stuff on there. That 6-person tag at Hell in a Cell was
I liked it.
Fantastic.
I thought it was fun. And then
it's like they made it work. Like, sometimes tag matches, especially mixed tag matches, just like a singles match happening. You know what I mean? They integrate that spot where Finn threw Liv and then AJ threw.
Oh yeah, he dirty dancing kind of like into.
I was like, that was. She got hang time, by the way. She went like whoosh, and then got Rhea. Yeah. Rhea's a great base for that kind of stuff because she kind of broke everyone on the internet because she wore shorts.
She did. Well, I think she tweeted that like
her gear wasn't ready.
Her gear was late or not on time, so she just had to make whatever she had work.
She
did. I thought she looked cool. It was a different look.
I thought her leg tattoos are cool as fuck.
Yeah, I liked it.
I mean this don't mean this in a like disgusting way. She's a big woman. Like, she is a big. Like
she's very
scary.
strong,
Like,
strong. She would, not that I would, fight back, but if I tried to fight back, she would
kick
kill
my
me in
ass.
3 seconds.
She would snap
3
me in
seconds,
half.
I'd be done. Oh my god.
She is a man. She is a very Australian woman.
She yeah.
Accent is thick.
I have been very, very pro Rhea Ripley since I first saw her in NXT UK. Well, actually in the women's tournament. But when she first started becoming this character in NXT UK, I've always been I looked at her and I was like, at the time she was like 22 or some shit. Yeah, and I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, this is going to run the women's division for 15 years.
And we'll talk about her again in a minute. But that match was really good. It was very fun. Everything worked really well. They did all their spots well. The finish was cool. Obviously, we'll talk about the Judgment Day again in a minute. But the presentation of those three at Hell in a Cell was fantastic. I was like, it's an interesting time that I'm definitely not mad about, but we'll talk about that again in a minute. The only other thing I want to touch on from Hell in a Cell, obviously, is the Hell in a Cell match. Now, there was rumors flying around, and WWE confirmed it all throughout the night. They told us all throughout the night that Cody Rhodes was injured. He tore his, he partially tore his pec.
They said it was a minimal, I believe the word minimal tear.
And then he did some training and tore it completely off the bone. Yeah, that's not obvious. We're like, well, fuck. Now
that's unfortunate.
This is the weird. So he come out. He obviously wasn't lifting his arm, and I was like, well, you could see a little bit of it. You're like, uh-oh.
Well, and I saw. You could see with the jacket. You could see, like, even with the color show and the lights being weird, you're like, you could see a little like fading here, like on his chest.
Before we go into Cody, we have to talk about Seth's gear. Mr. Rollins does a very good job at mind games. We've seen back at the Royal Rumble, he did the Shield stuff for Roman. And then he's done like the Halloween Havoc gear when he fought Dominic.
I think I tweeted, I said, Seth, you magnificent bastard.
He's a
I think that's what I said.
Seth
I was
Rollins
like, you magnificent bastard.
Deserves so much love and respect and credit for what he's able to do, because he's phenomenal. He's just phenomenal. He's so damn fantastic.
Obviously, Roman has been phenomenal, and he's been presented, and he is the top guy in the company. For my money. This last year and a half, Seth Rollins has been the best person, the best male performer for me on that roster. All total package, his promos, the outfits, the extra stuff he does, like that, like fucking with Roman and doing the Shield stuff, like fucking with Cody and wearing the poke, like that extra type of stuff. That's the stuff I truly love. It's the stuff I truly, truly love. Like, it's just that extra.
Not everyone will get it sometimes. A kid watching that may not understand what Dusty Rhodes even is, or who he even was. So like, it's just like the Halloween Havoc gear that he did. Not everyone's going to get that straight away. And I was just like, wait, I've seen that. And then you do some digging, and you're like, wow, Seth's phenomenal in the ring. Seth Rollins' hate can leave it at the door for me, because I'm not arguing you hate about it. He's just good.
He's unbelievable. And I've said it. I've said it on here. We've said it. Easily
top 5.
I think he's performing at his best. This is the best he's ever been.
It's his best.
Leaps and bounds.
Put money in the bank on him, and I'd be okay with it.
I'm okay with that. We can talk about it a little bit. We'll talk
money in the bank a lot later. Like,
I wanted to go on Kevin Owens, but that's just because I love Kevin Owens. But Seth Rollins is a perfect guy to get money, and he has the most famous cash in of all time. Yep, so give it back to him for a second time, and he can be like, yeah, remember last time I had this thing? Remember what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he took off his jacket, and the bruising the crowd went uncomfortable, silent. There was like an audible like, and then I think the whole
match. And I went back and so I've seen the match twice.
I only watched it once.
It's a good match. It's a good match for what it was. Yes. You could tell the second the lights came up and he took that jacket off,
the air,
everyone, us at home, but you could, like you said, you could audibly hear the air just leave the arena. And even during the match and the parts where people got excited, you could tell there was this overwhelming or like overriding thing of like, oh, like he shouldn't be in.
It was like, I get like, there's two ways to look at this, and it's both very valid. The first way is, what a tough person that
of
would hear me
course.
in so much
Yeah.
pain. But the other thing
Oh,
is that I don't know if we should be celebrating someone wrestling injured. It's just not my
I
thing.
agree.
And it's just like, I would have been, listen, it would have sucked and I would have been like, fuck's sake. But Seth could have wrestled anybody.
Mhm.
They could have
Yeah.
got someone else to wrestle Seth Rollins.
I don't think we would think any less.
No,
And
we
again,
wouldn't.
and Cody afterwards,
Cody's
he grabbed the
Cody.
mic, not on air, and he said that he was the one, that he was adamant that he
Yes,
wrestled.
but at the end of the
was
day,
him. But like at the end of the day, somebody like what? There
he's
was a
not in
doctor back
charge.
there that saw that and went, "Yeah, it's fine."
maybe
What?
they said maybe you can't do
You
any
can't get any
further.
worse.
Yeah, so
Can't do any worse. You're just gonna have to be in incredible pain.
But
And
like,
Cody was like, "Fuck it, I'll do it."
it's both ways.
Somebody's
I look at
gotta
it both
be
ways.
saying
It was
no.
just, listen, the match could have been 5 stars, but it was so uncomfortable for me
It's
that I was
also
like, I took it out.
Part of it is that's dangerous for Seth too, because
Yeah.
Seth needs to wrestle
Yeah.
the way that he wrestles, but in the back of his mind, he also knows that his opponent is limited. So he might take it easy on something and he could have got blown out a knee. Lord knows what could have happened. You know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
he's trying to
Props
take it a
to
little
Seth.
easier.
Again,
And
praise
props
to
to
Seth
both of
for-
them. Like you said, Cody, that is one
Tough person.
tough, gutsy, whatever you want to call that. Like that's insane. And the standing ovation he got on Raw last night and afterwards on the pay-per-view was deserving, because that is insane. He should not have done that. But the fact that he did, I do agree with you. I would hate to see a younger person see that and then maybe get the idea of like, oh, that's how hard you have to. And it's like, no. You should not like. Yes,
Live
so
to
I
fight
don't
another
want,
day, my guy. Like,
Yes.
you don't need to
Yeah.
die on this hill. This isn't the hill
Yeah.
to die on.
And
But
I again, like
is
it
what
was
is.
great theater. It was great theater.
Oh,
It was
fantastic.
It was a good match, and it was an uneasy watch, but it was kind of an uneasy watch in
Not
like
a good way.
not a good, not like,
It was just
I don't know.
uncomfortable to me.
It
but
was uncomfortable, but like
it
I
took
couldn't
me out of it.
not did it. I couldn't not watch it. I was like, this is.
I kept
insane
looking
that
away.
he's
I was like,
doing
I
this.
can't do this. This is too
But it
much
was
for me. But
anytime, and like, you know, I know wrestling is fake, but like Seth was kicking him there. Seth took the sledgehammer, and yeah, he might not have been putting real weight, but it was like they were doing things.
bruising hurts. You touch a bruise.
Yeah,
and it
like
hurts.
if that shit's torn off the bone, if you move it, it's gonna, like, I'm sure if Cody breathes, it hurts.
Yeah, probably.
And like he's in there, yeah, limited, but he's still. Oh my! I can't imagine the pain. I can't imagine.
Oofed. But yes, it all happened at Hell in a Cell, and then the next night on Raw, obviously Cody come out, got a standing ovation,
Of course.
said blah blah blah. I'm fucked up, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then Seth hugged him, and they had like a moment, but then he hit him
They had a
with
respect
sledgehammer,
moment in the ring,
and then
and then
fucked
he
him.
turned on him and
But yeah,
wrote him off television.
yeah, exactly. The main thing that, well, actually, before we get to the main thing from Raw, let's talk about Becky Lynch and Asuka. Becky Lynch challenged for the 24/7 championship.
Oh yeah, I have something. Okay, and I'm not the first person that said this, but Becky Lynch, even though what happened after, Becky Lynch challenging for the 24/7 title and at least making it seem like she cares about winning the 24/7 title is the biggest thing that could ever happen for that belt. Because if somebody at that level, like there's been scenes where like Baron Corbin had been in the back and the 24/7 title champion would be standing right next to him, and Baron Corbin wouldn't even like, you know, he was like, I'm above this shit.
Yeah.
I'm above this shit. Like he wouldn't even think about getting a ref or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Becky Lynch, who's the top female in the company.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, F this. You're fighting me. I'm taking this belt. Like she wanted to win that title because she's Becky Lynch and she can. I actually think it would have been fun if they gave it to her.
Becky's a absolute
She could have just
idiot,
walked around with it and everybody would have been like,
fuck
maybe
that.
scared. Like, yeah, they would have been like, I'm not going with that. Becky will kill me. I'm not doing that. Like,
But like, it is
Sean-
pretty. I do. Again, this is another moment of like, wow, Becky Lynch. It felt so weird to watch Becky Lynch wrestle Dana Brooke because Becky's so, no offense to Dana, but so above that.
the different levels. Yeah.
So like, it felt cool in the sense of like, holy shit, Dana Brooke just pinned Becky Lynch. Now I know there was shenanigans with Asuka
that don't matter.
and whatever.
It ain't gonna say that
matter.
on Dana Brooke's
Exactly.
win-loss record. It ain't gonna say
felt-
victory over
you're like,
Becky Lynch chicanery.
Wow, they actually have done it. They've built people to certain levels that make it seem like it's actually a big deal that Dana Brooke got a victory over Becky Lynch.
See, this is the thing, and Raw was too long. Everything
yeah,
I thought Raw overall last night was a good Raw.
I watched bits and pieces,
but I thought it was a good Raw because they did different shit.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Becky Lynch, that whole thing for the 24/7 title with Dana Brooke. Yeah, I know it's leading to Asuka and Becky, which we've seen, but that whole thing involving that was fresh. That was something new. I didn't really like the segment, but Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory kind of crossing paths. That's a new, fresh matchup. Yeah. What we're going to talk about later with the Judgment Day and what happened there, that is new. That's like stuff that WWE doesn't do all the time. They usually just stay the fucking course all the time. And it's like,
Becky and so it's cool to have Becky and Asuka now to okay, we're going to get what I think was originally intended, and we're going to have this rivalry. Also, it keeps them away from Money in the Bank. So they can have their thing and have a great wrestling match at the pay-per-view for the most, probably, who knows. But that was cool. I don't really want to touch on too much. Actually, we'll talk about the two other things I want to talk about in conjunction with one another because that's what happens. So, so what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say real quick because I doubt you're going to talk about the Usos and Street Profits.
Didn't even watch it.
However, Montez Ford, he's getting in some. Yoked. I'm going to go on a singles run shape.
Yeah,
soon. That guy is yoked
to the.
He is getting
to the gills.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I think it's happening soon. I wouldn't mind him being in Money in the Bank match. But anyway,
that'd be cool.
Anyway,
let's talk about what happened with the Judgment Day because I don't care what anyone says to me. Everyone under the sun was like, "Oh, it's just Finn joining the Judgment Day." Nobody picked what was going to happen, and that's a genuine fucking crazy time within WWE where you don't pick something and it's cool. Okay, so they teased. I noticed they teased before Raw. I was on my way to the city in Adelaide, and I was like, I stopped, got on my phone. I'm like, oh, they're teasing a new member of the Judge. Well, no, they weren't teasing it. They were guaranteeing that a new member of the Judgment Day was going to be, accepted,
announced, or accepted, or let in, or whatever.
Edge was cutting this promo about how great he was, and basically, and how great Rhea and Damian Priest are, and was like, we won, and blah blah blah. And then he said it's time to introduce a new member of the Judgment Day, and Finn Balor's music hit. The commentators did the really good job at portraying, is he just here to, because he was so happy Finn, he was, doing this stuff for the crowd, is he just here to interrupt? He can't be the new member. And then Damian kind of gets on the mic and says, it's time to cut the last thing that is holding us back.
The weakest link, I think, or something like that. It's time to get rid of the weakest link or something.
He attacked Edge, and it's like, holy fucking shit.
Unbelievable.
Because it's why would you... Edge has just kind of got into this heel role. They've just kind of got in the momentum of things. And I think, coming out of Hell in a Cell, people are like, okay, they're finally trying to get on the train of, this might be working a little better. But even we said in our simulation, I'm like, Edge is above the cheap shots to the crowd and the cheap.
And I openly was like, I think it's all right, but I haven't been. I'm a huge fan of the people that were in the group, but it wasn't really hitting on all cylinders for me personally.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were like that. To be completely honest, they ended up beating the shit out of Edge. They gave him a concerto.
Oh my god, they beat the crap out of him.
Put him through a table, and even Rhea was getting in there and stuff like that. It was really cool. And that visual, I'm like, Finn, Rhea, and Damian Priest. I'm like, this is kind of dope. I don't know if they're going to be the Judgment Day. I think it might be a little less
I think they should
spooky.
rename it something else.
I think they should. Let's just have them be three badass people that are going to beat the shit out of everyone. And also, by the way, Finn Balor versus Edge at SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying this. I'm just putting this out there. Edge is personally... I don't know if it's written into his contract or if it's just because he's Edge, that he's just like, this is who I'm wrestling when I come back. This is who I'm wrestling when I come back.
Oh, absolutely. He's given...
He got AJ. He got Seth. He's getting Finn, presumably. He's had Randy. He's had Roman. I don't think there's one person that could... Well, maybe Vince, but he could probably just go to Vince and be like, this is what I'm doing at SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah. Vince will say yes.
Sure. Listen, Edge is not going to be taking bumps for the next 10 years. He is getting all of his matches that he wants to have with all... Listen, he hasn't had a match in that company since he came back without, legitimate great wrestlers. Like, you can just tell that Edge is just having a field day at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, and he knows that he's not going to be, he might be around for, I'd say a couple more years. I would say that Edge is going to be wrestling for a couple more years. I think that's pretty safe to say. But like Finn and Edge, okay.
I'm happy because Finn Balor to me has seemed bland for a long time.
Yeah.
I liked it when he first went back to NXT and he turned heel down there when like Adam Cole and those guys were still down there. But ever since he got called back up, like he's just been kind of doing nothing. He's been losing meaningless matches to Theory and things like this. So to have him in this role, and he's done the heel leader of the state. He created the Bullet Club, for crying out loud. Like he's done this. I can lead a group as a bad guy here. He has a big history of doing it. And I saw the visual with Edge laid out on the chair and the three of them standing there, and Finn was like half smiling and his head was cocked a little bit. And I was like, yes. I was like, I am all about that. I think Finn Balor fits that group.
Three just tear through everything.
And like, that's the thing, right? Like you see that group with those three. And to me, immediately when I saw that visual, I was like,
that works.
That makes so much more sense with Finn than it did with Edge. Immediately.
And Edge is at the point where I'm glad that he tried the heel stuff again, because Edge is a phenomenal heel, but he's just in that spot now where you're like,
but do you think the Cody thing had an effect on that? You think them losing a big baby face in Cody, they were like, no, we maybe we're thinking about doing this. Maybe we make Edge be.
Edge doesn't wrestle every week, so
but no. So you lose Cody. And then in the same show, effectively, Edge is turned babyface by getting turned on.
You could probably
and they announced that John Cena's coming back.
But like Edge doesn't wrestle week to week. He's not wrestling on house shows like Cody. It's not like he could fill that void that Cody has created. So I don't personally think so. Sure, there's an argument for it. If you want to really believe that, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But I don't think so, just because Edge isn't a full-time wrestler. He'll be off television until at least after Money in the Bank. You would assume.
I would think so.
And Edge has been on television since Mania. Let the guy, since before Mania. So, like, let the guy just have a little bit of a rest for a little while. You know what I mean? The other thing that kind of coincides with this, it was a big night for the Judgment Day because there was a fatal four-way. Was it the main event?
Fantastic main event. It was a main
event.
I
didn't watch it all.
You got to watch it. That was a real
Four
good match.
Really different women.
Yeah. And Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss had some double team moves in there.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Commentary was kind of
no, thank you.
I would like them to stay singles people, but they looked good together, and commentary made you realize.
I watched the very end of it just because I wanted to see
real good.
Again, Alexa Bliss, Doudrop, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley. I'm like, that's a match we've never seen, and it's just cool.
I think that's why the crowd was into it. It was like, hey, like this is different. Whoever wins this, we haven't seen in a title picture in a while.
By the way,
like let's go.
Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair have killed it in the past. They will kill it again. Also, I'm not completely convinced that Bianca Belair is walking out of Money in the Bank with the Raw Women's Champion. I am not at all, because Judgment Day seems to be getting a little bit of steam, and if Rhea could pull that out,
I hope so.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's probably a little early to take the title off of Bianca, but also, like, I'm never going to say no to Rhea Ripley being in this spot because, listen, I know Rhea's had she was Raw Women's Champ, and then she went into the tag title stuff, and she had some tag team stuff and stuff like that. Giddy is eating something that I don't know what. What are you eating? She was, in, the trash. Get out of there. Rhea has never not been featured. And again, in a matter of 24 hours, the Judgment Day went from okay to everyone being like, this is fucking cool. Mm-hmm. And Rhea and Bianca are going to kill it in Vegas. They're going to kill it.
Yep. I want this. I don't want this to be a 1 month and done thing.
Let's keep going.
Yes. I want Bianca and Rhea to have another. I want this to go through SummerSlam at least. I want this to last a while.
It's not going too far though, my guy, because at Clash of the Castle, it's going to be Becky.
I know. Which is fun. Whatever. But don't just have one match and that's it. You know what I mean? These two should be the two that are intertwined with each other for the next 10 years in the women's division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
They
you.
don't have to always fight, but they should be Edge and Cena, where they have a big feud, they go away, or Orton and Cena. They fight each other, they go do separate shit for a while, but they always come back to each other. That should be these two for the next generation, because the four horsewomen they're still obviously in their primes, but they're in like a level older than these two. So like this should be the next one. These two, they're going to be carrying your women's division. They're the top two future stars. I mean, Bianca already is a current one. I think Rhea is too. They just haven't focused on her as much as Bianca, clearly. I'm ready.
It's going to be
ready for this.
Really,
they were the last
really
two
fun.
in that Royal Rumble that Bianca won. They were the last two in that Rumble.
Also, it sets up something cool for. I know we don't know who's in Money in the Bank or anything like that. Or at least to my knowledge, nothing happened on Raw with too much with Money in the Bank participants, and we won't give you predictions or anything like that because that's for a future whole episode. But like, I put this on Twitter and I've made it very clear that I think Liv Morgan was ready last year and she's even more ready this year. So I'm kind of glad that Liv didn't win the match because I'm like, listen, whether she wins it or not, there's a spot in Money in the Bank for Liv Morgan. I don't think that Liv Morgan is going to not be in Money in the Bank. I would certainly hope that she is. I hope we get some different women in Money in the Bank this year, and let's have some.
I want Sonya in there.
Let's get Sonya in there. Let's get Liv Morgan in there.
Like all four. Like obviously Rhea's got the title match now, but the other three of those should be in that match. Doudrop, Bliss, Alexa, Liv. Throw Bliss. Sonya in there.
That's
Nikki
your
ASH won it last year. You could have her in there.
Fuck it. I don't.
It's gonna be what? There's usually what? Six.
Eight.
Six.
Eight.
Is it 8? Yeah.
Raquel could probably.
Yeah, Raquel's. Yeah. Shotzi, whatever. If Bailey's healthy and coming back, maybe Bailey would be dope.
I think Bailey's getting very close to coming back, and I think she's going to fight Ronda.
I think she's got to be one of the favorites that wins.
I think she's going to beat Ronda, to be completely honest. I know Natty's got a shot at Ronda, and I have, you know me, I can't.
We were watching. We were doing the simulation when that went down, and you could hear our reactions live. If you go watch that simulation, because.
Listen,
Shayna Baszler was in that match, and Shayna Baszler should have won that fucking match. It should be Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler.
We've seen it.
And then Ronda beats Shayna, and then Shayna starts being friends with Ronda.
I hate the Ronda Rousey thing because it's like whoever wins, you know, is just going to lose to Ronda. Yeah. And there's no interest for me. The thing with the Raw Women's title is that you can't say for certain that Bianca and Bianca is producing banger after banger after banger after banger, and there's not a chance in hell that her and Rhea are not going to produce a banger. They've had bangers in the past in NXT, and they've only gotten better. And they're two very different women than they were in NXT. So it is going to be nothing but just magnificent stuff that's going to happen at Money in the Bank. But other than that, there's not too really. We pretty much covered everything that we got up to date. By the way, guys, I did get a fancy mullet.
Oh, I saw that.
I just did it on a limb yesterday. I went to a bar and was like, it was like, what do you want? And I'm like, fuck it. Let's do something different. So I did. But yeah, like, it's just cool. It's just cool. And I'm like, got stuff like the day we do the simulation that night, it's going to be cool because I get to do the simulation in the morning for Money in the Bank. And I get to
then Money in the Bank for you will be actually happening that night, right?
No, the next day, but that night. Okay,
because it's on a Saturday over here.
So it's a Sunday morning for me. So I have that whole weekend off of work because I'm going to the footy on the Saturday night, and then I get to watch Money in the Bank the next day. Like, I'm just going to have a good old fucking time.
That sounds like a real nice weekend.
I'm going to have a nice weekend. I won't even be watching Money in the Bank at home. I'll be in the city, so I get to watch it in a hotel room, which I'm kind of excited about. Like, it's just a different environment. Like, I'm just very geared up for the next month. So, kind of good stuff. Next week on the show, we're going to have a good little time because we're celebrating my 2 years of being out.
Hey, that's not all right. Anniversaries.
So
I like anniversaries.
That's kind of cool. So we can just kind of see where we're at, and we'll talk more wrestling, I'm sure, because who knows what will happen in the next week. I'm sure some stuff will happen on Dynamite with what's going on at Forbidden Door and all of that kind of stuff, and a lot to look forward to. So it feels good because we've got Forbidden Door. Then the very next week is the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So it's within a week of one another. Again, we've got 2 weeks straight of wrestling. With AEW and New Japan and this. and Money in the Bank. And listen, Money in the Bank is so much fun all the time. I know it got moved to a smaller arena, which listen, WWE, you shouldn't be running pay-per-views the same night and the same time as UFC anyway. Because UFC is a way bigger entity than anything.
I understand. Money in the Bank has always historically been in smaller venues, so it's not gonna look like any different from any of the other Money in the Banks we've seen.
They're fun.
Ladder matches, which are always a blast.
They always have big title matches at Money in the Bank, and we're in a string too of really cool shows because at this, and then 3 weeks after that, it's SummerSlam, and then Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, and then even because Clash of the Castle is in August, right?
Early September.
So then at the end of August, you'll have All Out, and then it will be Clash at the Castle. So like you're talking now with Forbidden Door being added, like we get Forbidden Door, Money in the Bank, a 3-week build to SummerSlam, a 3-week build to All Out, Castle, right? Like that's like usually the summer, like SummerSlam's obviously always a big deal and All Out, but like usually the summer is like, but it feels like we're like, oh man, we're running into like a 2-month.
I can't watch Clash at the Castle live because it airs at like 3 a.m. my time.
Really?
In the UK.
Are you that far away from the UK?
So you got to remember.
Again, this is me never leaving.
You got to remember,
sadly. So I'm like, I don't know
when Raw's on, it's like 1 a.m. UK time.
I knew that. I knew it's like 1 or 2 in the morning.
You have to remember that you have to reverse. So it starts for me at Raw starts at 9:30 in the morning. You got to take 5 because you're 5 hours difference with the UK. So you take 5 and it's 3:30.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be sleeping. I'm not getting up for a wrestling show. No, I'm just not doing it. I'll get up and watch it in my own time. But
in your own time,
I can't watch it live. I can, but I'm not going to.
You're not going to, yeah. No.
That's ridiculous. When they had like NXT Takeover London, it was at like 2 or 3 in the morning as well, and I'm like,
no. So that's how it is for where I live. That's how it is. Like, not that I'm a regular New Japan watcher,
because they're on the same time. The same time.
Yeah. So when Wrestle Kingdom happens, it's literally 3:30 in the morning.
So it's weird. Tokyo and Sydney have the same time zone. So there's only like a half an hour difference between Tokyo and Adelaide. So whenever there's whenever I watch New Japan once a year, which is Wrestle Kingdom, and I get to watch it at 7:30 at night. Which is how you guys watch wrestling. This is what you guys you watch
on the East Coast, right? We watch it at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
That's that's how I watch Wrestle Kingdom because it's like on at a normal time for me.
A normal time,
yeah. So like I'm not watching Clash of the Castle live. I'm sure a lot of Australians would be the same. They're like, we'll watch it whenever the fuck we wake up.
When we wake up, exactly.
So like that's what we'll be doing. So no live tweeting for me of that show anymore. If anyone really cares enough, but. Unless someone wants to pay me a lot of money to do a watch along, I ain't fucking doing that at all.
Fair.
No fucking way.
Fair.
But it'll be, I'm sure.
They're gonna make it a big deal.
Drew will be wrestling Roman. Becky will be in a title match or some kind of prominent match. Doudrop will be Doudrop will be actually quite over as well. Nikki ASH.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the
Sheamus.
I was gonna say that whole group, the Brutes.
Oh, of course.
All of them. Pete Dunne. Gunther could be the Intercontinental Champion at that point. He's fighting for that on Friday. I think he's probably going to win it. The way the name is still trash, but they're making him a big deal. Yeah, they're making as they should.
I don't watch,
but they're making him. I don't really either, but they're making him a big deal. And I forget what his new name is.
Ludwig.
But Bartel, when he does his introduction of Gunther, fantastic, fantastic. But anyway,
It's all happening. It's all happening. So we've got a lot to look forward to. So on that note, again, we're on our new channel now. So you're watching this. If you're watching this right now, you're in the new channel. So make sure you click subscribe, give this a like, share it out because, hey, it might get lost in the shuffle just because we're on a new channel. So, but it will still be in the same playlist that you see on my main page on my YouTube. So when you click on it, you'll just notice that it's on a different channel. That's all that. It really doesn't matter. So make sure you're doing it still at the same time, same look, same love, all of that kind of stuff, talking about the same things. We're at episode number 30 of this show right now. So we're getting through. I know we take weeks off sometimes, but it's just, listen, we are in 2 very different spots in the time, and sometimes it just doesn't line up. It is what it is. But every Thursday, 9 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time, it's Adelaide time, you will see all of that. But you see all of our links to our stuff on the screen. They'll be in the links in the description below. And make sure you Follow us on Twitter's really our
Yes.
main kind of platform that we're talking well, at least for me, I'm talking a lot more bullshit
Yeah,
than JPJ.
same.
I'm just doing my thing, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube. It's Josh Robinson 00. You see all my links in the links in the description, of course. So go over in there. I'm dropping a lot of different stuff lately. I'm not just doing wrestling, doing a lot of AFL stuff, doing a lot of
Yeah.
Switch stuff, and different, and just trying to change it up a little bit, because that's all I tweet about now is wrestling, being single, finding hot men, and football.
Yeah. Hey,
which is
sounds pretty good.
I don't know.
And you even said yourself, you never thought that you would be a big football guy,
And
and
now
then
I
all
am.
of a sudden,
Now
the
I
last couple of years,
fucking
you've gotten
love
super
it.
into it, and it's awesome.
Love it.
Love it.
We
I'm a
love
big
to see it.
sports guy, so I love it. I love when people get
And
passionate
I'm
about
trying
sports.
I'm trying to get JPJ into it, and he's been watching it, and he's like, "Hey, this isn't
Yeah.
half bad." So I'm doing my job.
those streams have been fun as hell.
Yeah, so all of that good stuff. So until next Thursday at 9 p.m., we are signing off. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Peace out.